carefree, looking out for better days. Just call it a raise, I'm hoping to rise. Love on my black sisters, let's collab, not collide. While our people provide, light skin, dark skin, but we all on the same side. Come together on the same time, dark and lovely. Yeah, I love mine, beautiful we are, huh? Queens we are, I must admit, and we will go far. Don't ever forget, yeah, I must admit, black queens we are.
Dark and lovely I am, the color of beautiful, beautiful.
On this episode of Colorism Conversations, we're talking to Felicia Oyewusi, author and social activist. It is the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. Once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Muhammad Ali. I am in charge of my life. I am improving my life by eliminating the drama within it. I let go of everything and everyone that impedes my progress in life. I do not entertain negative thoughts, feelings, or conversations. I choose to be happy today. I am continually aligned with my higher purpose. I am strong.
Back. We are here with Colorism Conversations, and we're so glad to have you with us today. And we have an amazing guest with us today. And we're so excited to have her because not only is she going to talk to us about colorism, but we're going to talk to her about her book. And so her name is Felicia Oyewusi, and she'll correct me if I didn't quite get that right. But welcome, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a privilege, as I've said kind of earlier to her today, but thank you so much for having me here. It's truly an amazing experience to have this kind of conversation with you as well today. So I'm really excited.
Oh, great. We are so excited to have you here. So I want to first talk to you before we get into the colorism conversation. I want to first talk about your book. So I'd like you to tell us about where you are, where you're from, and anything else you'd like to tell us, and talk to us about everyday Black heroes.
Thank you. Okay. So starting with myself, my name is Felicia Oyewusi, that's kind of what I kindly introduced. And I was born in Nigeria, raised with my family, and moved to England. And now currently Scotland is my home number 2, where I am based and where a lot of my life has unfolded. And yeah, as a person, personally, I'm somebody who's passionate about self-growth and self-development. And also having grown up in an environment where it was, pretty much white majority people, for Scottish people. And at the time, there weren't a lot of Nigerians as well. I've just gleaned a few things as well in the process about color, about myself, about people, about relationships and things like that. So yeah, I'm now somebody who's really passionate about creating impact for younger people, especially younger girls to me. And a lot of that comes from the fact that I felt that growing up, a lot of the things that I learned was kind of through discovery. It was through seeking, or it was through having the right kind of relationships. It wasn't something that was common knowledge, for example, in terms of finance and in terms of well-being. It wasn't really something that I learned, I would say, within my immediate community. Within, like, let's say, my Nigerian family community, it was a lot that we had to learn, especially being in a new environment. And I just feel that a lot of young girls and young people in general just need a lot of empowerment and encouragement, because these times bad news kind of attracts itself to people, but good news is quite difficult to celebrate at times, because we don't really highlight it as much as we highlight bad news. And yeah, I'm just really working to change the mindset and help young people understand that truly they are limitless. They can't put a limit on their capacity and what they're able to do as young people, and especially young Black girls as well. And that's kind of part of the reason why we have Everyday Black Heroes, a book I wrote for young Black girls during the height of COVID, all the Black Lives Matter protests and all of that going on. And it was kind of born out of a desperation for some empowerment and encouragement as part of the narrative during that time. So, in as much as we were educating one another, I felt that the younger people were really suffering because they were being told and showed that because of your color, you might be treated a certain way. But that was kind of, it felt like a singular narrative. We weren't empowering them as well at the same time and encouraging them to still push beyond, boundaries and challenges to truly try to achieve their goals and their dreams, and to be confident in who they are. So that was part of it. That was one reason, from a myriad of other reasons. And I hope that answers your question. It is a book about role models from around the world. So I literally had to do research to find people in tech, to find Black women in the creative industries and art and science, just really from different backgrounds and from different parts of the world, in order to show young people that, yeah, they can be represented even if they don't see someone in their immediate community doing these things. There are people like them achieving amazing things around the world, and they can draw from that, and from that story, from those positive stories as well. So yeah, it was really enjoyable, the process of writing the book and bringing it together. And since then, I've even used it I'm currently a teacher. I've used it in some of the schools I've been in, and it's also sparked some conversations with other people that I've worked with in the past. I've left books in the classroom because they've asked me, so how should I relate with this young Black girl in my class who was feeling a little bit traumatized when I showed, a kids' news, but it was talking about, George Floyd. It was able to spark those conversations as well. So for that, I am grateful, and I hope that answers your question. And
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so what grades do you teach?
so, how would that translate to? So, primary 2, 3 here. So that's around between age 5 to 7 over here. I'm not quite sure what that translates to over there.
Over here, that's like between kindergarten and first grade.
Okay, so I'd say first grade. First grade. So upper,
Okay.
kind of nearing the end of first grade, because I think
Right. I think over here, if you're a really bright 5-year-old, you might be in first grade, but typically first grade here is like 6, 7 years old.
Okay, yeah, I'd say more first grade then. First
Okay.
grade, yeah, because it really depends here on when you were born as well, in terms of the age cutoffs, depending on what.
Yeah, it kind of does here too, because sometimes you'll have, depending upon when you were, at least it used to be. Now I am ancient. Okay, so they may not do it the same way here anymore since I was in school, but it used to sometimes be an age thing because you might actually, you might actually be a 7-year-old in
Yeah,
first grade
yeah,
and 6-year-old, depending upon when your birthday was.
yeah. It's quite strange. So more so age 6 and 7, but you might get those children who are just on the cutoff, and that might be at the lower end of the age. Um,
That's a special age
First
too.
grade. It really is.
That's a special age.
It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we always celebrate teachers, and thank you so much for doing that work, because that's where it kind of all gets started, with teachers, and teachers spend a lot of time with our children. So that's wonderful that you're doing that, and we certainly applaud you for that. And we'll find out some more information about your book before the close of the show, so we'll be able to tell people where they can find it and how else to support you, and we'll do that at the end of the show. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what have been some of your experiences with colorism?
Some of my experiences with colorism. I think for myself personally, as I didn't really see colorism as a thing, should I say, until I moved to Scotland, where I was surrounded by peers that were, Scottish and white, and some children or some young people that were kind of um, mixed ethnicities, so it wasn't just one. And I think just kind of observing how young women, depending on like the color, sometimes we're treated. I would say that was probably the first time that I was gleaning that, oh, does this mean that you're kind of more attractive? I should actually also backtrack. Um, from a lot of my friends as well, those around me growing up, usually if somebody's lighter skin, they'll be like, oh, she's so beautiful. Look how pretty she looks compared to maybe other siblings. So that was quite commonplace as well. I'd say as a Nigerian girl, it was quite common to see just because somebody was lighter skin. And yeah, but I'd say high school is probably the more prominent one. I've been, should I say, I've been favored to have grown up with other priorities rather than, you know, guys
Yeah.
and men at a younger age. And that's kind of helped me, I think, to stay focused and not to weigh myself down on issues like that. And it's helped me to focus on myself, actually. But I do have a lot of friendships and I have a lot of conversations with people around me where they are still holding on to kind of the norms when they were in high school, even though they're years ahead of that time now. And a lot of their how they see themselves, their self worth, their self value, a lot of it they connect it back to, remember we were in school, and a lot of even black men or black guys at the time would date either the white girls or the ones that looked, racially ambiguous and things like that. But they didn't
Hmm.
really date, the black girls in the schools. So that's quite commonplace in the conversations that I have with a lot of my friends. And actually, even outside of, the high school environment, we still have a similar thing going on, I'd say, in our community. Even in the small cities that I grew up in, it's quite common, I think, to see young black men that we grew up with more likely to maybe be dating other people of color or other races rather than the black women or even the black girls that they grew up with. So that was quite interesting. It's not actually to say that anybody is so bad or so terrible for making their decisions and choices, but these are things that subconsciously I think do get to people, and I think that's the part about colorism, that you don't really have to say something, you don't have to utter the words, but when you see that there is kind of like a mass preference for certain types of people, and you don't happen to be in that mass preference, it can be quite damaging, I think, to how you see yourself and to how that reflects in, how you think about beauty, how you think about worth and value. And it's really sad because it also means that I feel like some of the people I've had conversations with as well, I've kind of settled as well for people who are just not up to par for really who they are and what their value is, just because they don't
Right.
deem themselves as attractive compared to some other people. So yeah, I'd say my experiences with colorism, um, it comes more from what I've observed in conversations that I've had.
Hmm.
Because thankfully, at the time when I felt like it would have penetrated deep, into my spirit,
Yeah.
thankfully I was very distracted by other things at that time. But I did notice, I did see a lot. I had a best friend in high school who was she was from Guyana, and but I think she had two parents from different places, and she was lighter skinned because I think one of her parents was from a white background, and it was very interesting seeing how a lot of people approached her at the time. It was the two of us would be walking around, and she was
Mm.
kind of, heavily seeked,
Yeah.
and then you're just kind of like the best friend who's minding their business. But at the time, I didn't mind, as I said, because I had other priorities. But I think it is very easy for things like that to enter into your subconscious and to affect the way that you think about yourself and the way you think about beauty. And also, as well, having grown up in Nigeria and even just going back to Nigeria or going to Togo, it's not strange to see, a lot of advertisements that are geared towards skin lightening and things like that as well.
Right.
Um, we do have certain, when we maybe see you have a Nigerian maybe with lighter skin, you might attribute them to coming from particular tribes, for example, let's say the Igbo tribe and things like that. Or, yeah, so we have certain attributes and certain things that we connect to being lighter skin. But definitely there is an issue with skin lightening. A lot of people have actually had damaged
Yes.
skin. Um, Sometimes you even know what clues to look for because it's just so common that some people have really lightened their skin with really harmful products. And even the not even just lightening, whitening. Sorry, should I say whitening? Because some people do believe there is a difference between lightening and whitening. Um, Even my last trip when I went back to Nigeria, somebody asked me to actually bring some products back as well, which I was really taken aback by. Um, so it's those things that you see, you observe, and I think enters into your subconscious and can affect what you think is the norm, what you think is okay, how you think your value is determined as a woman, especially. I can't really speak so much for the men, unfortunately, but I think as a woman,
Right.
we care a lot, I think, about how others see us. We care a lot about looking our best, feeling our best, and I think things like that can affect young people, young women especially as well. So yeah.
So what do you say to people who ask you about bringing product to them, skin lightening product to them? What is your response for that? I'm just curious.
So as I said, I think it's something that's so widely done, especially in Nigeria. It's so widely done
It is, yeah.
that um, it's kind of just like people are making their own choices. It's no more just about, oh, you look beautiful if you don't do this. It's so ingrained that, I think for somebody to make a decision to not use those products, it takes a lot more. Um,
Mm,
it really takes a lot more to be able to make those decisions because it's something that they've thought in their mind since they were younger that okay, lighter skin is attributed to maybe having money, to more relaxed, kind of more luxurious lifestyle, and also to like beauty to be more attractive and more sought after. So it's a lot. Sometimes people don't even know why they make certain decisions anymore because it's just been so ingrained in them.
right,
So, for me, I would still say kind of people might think it's cliche by now as well if it's something that they're used to doing. So I still believe we're beautiful the way that we're created, and we all have something unique about us. And at the end of the day, actually, how we look will not be the most important. Yes, people are blowing on Instagram and things like that due to the way that they look, but a lot of that is the exception. I don't believe that's the norm. Um, and it looks like the norm, it feels like the norm. But actually, there are lots of
right,
amazing people we can look up to um, who who appreciate on themselves and who they are. And sometimes I also think that we are actually we're standing in the way of some opportunities to really create impact by not being our authentic self, by
mm,
not loving ourselves for who we are. I really honestly think that
mhm,
sometimes we limit the kind of impact we can have on others and on the world as well. And it's that's just it for me. So it's like by being true to yourself, by working more on yourself and working on why you believe you need a certain thing, that will be more important and that will yield more fruit. That will make a greater difference than you just, having that quick fix of just trying to succumb to what you think is a standard, societal standard, should I say. But I would be
right,
careful with that as well, as I said, because a lot of people do just make their own choices, and you don't want to come across as condescending and
mhm,
looking like
mhm,
you know better, you're the bigger person. Yeah, so I just keep it as an opinion, as a thought, but I would continue to encourage somebody that you are, you look absolutely fine the way that you are, you look great the way you are, and
right,
it's deeper than that. It goes beyond the way that you look as well. Just imagine looking amazing, but life still doesn't go your way. Like there's so much more
right,
to life, or not to even be able to do some basic things, just even
mhm,
your ability to sit up in the morning and breathe, like it's things we take for granted.
yes,
Appreciating the small
yes.
things.
Absolutely. And I know I was blown away to find out the statistics as far as skin bleaching, and that 70 it says that 74% of the women in Nigeria skin bleach.
Hmm.
And I was just blown away by that because for me, I, I look at I look at the pictures of these absolutely beautiful, beautiful women. And I think, why would you want to change it? I mean, I get it. I do get it.
Mm.
Having studied colorism
Yeah.
and all of that, I do get the psychological idea and what happens to us as a people psychologically when certain standards of beauty are held up as this is what beauty is for Black women. I get that. I really do get that, because I've had to deal with it in my own life about that as I grew up. And I think that it's so important. What so much of what you said is so important is really understanding who you are and what you have to give to the world,
Mhm.
and that God made you who you are and made you the way that you look,
Yeah.
and that we have to embrace that. And one of the things that I also do say is that we've become we're very caught up on what things look like in the world now. And
Mhm.
so one of the things I say all the time is you've got to love what you see in the mirror, and you can't let anyone else. I constantly say you can't let Hollywood or the media or anyone else dictate to us what is beautiful for
Or
us.
you'll never be happy.
Never.
Ever. It's just,
Never.
yeah.
Because I mean, to me, you can look at Lupita Nyong'o, absolutely
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah.
But then it's kind of like you'll still find some way that you don't look like her because you're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to look like her,
I love what
as
you
much as
said.
we
You're not
might like to.
supposed to. You're not like that's actually, we're not supposed to look like carbon copies of each other. We
Right.
were created with liberty, with freedom. We were crafted uniquely, individually, and I just think that's so precious. As you said, that God has created us, so preciously for us to have this opportunity, even at life, is such a privilege. And I think there was one more thing that you mentioned about kind of I think it was the psychological aspect as well. And I think that it can start from, the way that you look. It can start from skin, it can go into your nose, it can go into other areas of your life as well. If you're not careful, the kind of person that you are, and you care so much what other people think, you might start making really big changes that take away from your individuality and your identity as well. Like knowing what your identity is set in, what crafts your identity, what constitutes your identity as a person. I think a lot of people have to answer that question, or have never tried to answer that question. Who am I? What is my identity as a person? What is it that it's tied to? What dictates it? A lot of people have never probably sat down to try to answer that question and understand it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. All right. We'll be right back after this.
Wonderful it made the color of beautiful, beautiful. God made me beautiful. Yeah, I am so beautiful. I am so beautiful. When you look at me, what do you see? The color of beautiful. So beautiful. When you walk my way, what do you say? The color of beautiful. God made me beautiful. So beautiful. My dark skin, my full lips, my brown eyes, my round hips, beautiful, beautiful, yeah. Ebony, mahogany, sun-kissed, just look at me. I am so beautiful.
You want a beauty to behold, you're a natural queen. Pretty dark and lovely with a glowy skin. Definitely you are credit to the whole black race. What a strong black woman with a
welcome back. We are here talking with Felicia, and we're having an amazing conversation here on colorism. So let me ask you now, how do you feel about your own skin color?
How do I feel about my own skin color? I really love my skin color. I really genuinely love it. And funny enough, you asked about colorism earlier. My experience when I was younger, I wanted to look like my one of my best friends, and she has such a deep dark. Oh me, the color of her skin was just so rich, and I used to
Mm,
want to look like her, because you couldn't see a lot of the blemishes, not imperfections, and things like that on her face, and I was like, wow, you look gorgeous. So I mean, I accept my skin color, and I love the way that I look, and but before I used to want to have like a darker fair tone to it,
hmm.
but no, I do definitely. I love the way that I look. I love my skin, and I believe that it actually makes me stand out. I use it to my strength. I use it to my advantage as a person as well. Sometimes you don't have to speak, and you enter a room, and you already stand out.
Yes,
So using it to your advantage. So
right.
yeah, I'm really grateful for the skin God has created me.
So how did you get to that place where you love your skin? I mean, was there ever I mean, you said, I know that you said you had wished that you were looked like one of your friends who was a deep,
Yeah.
deep, deep color. So how
So
did you get to
oh,
that
so
place where you were just comfortable and just love your own
yeah.
skin?
I think it came from seeing, should I say, diversity? Because I wouldn't, even when I was younger, I used to think that the city I lived in was like the world, whatever opinion was the most popular. I thought, oh, so that's how people think. And then I worked in another city for about a month where I was surrounded by people from around the world. I don't know if you've heard of it, Commonwealth Games. So I was doing a part-time role there, and that was when I worked with people from Greece, people from Nigeria as well, people from just all around the world,
Mm,
and also you had the athletes coming in from all around the world, and had lots of interesting conversations with people. And I think in that moment, I realized that whatever my immediate circle is not necessarily the world. The world is greater and so much wider and so much bigger than the way that I see it. And that translated not just into like skin color, it translated into my principles and the way that I see life and the way that I see people. And I think it just had a ripple effect, should I say, in understanding that even if people don't find you, let's say, attractive in one place, oh, I should also say there was somebody that was really interested in me at that time. I was just a young girl. I was just, I thought it was just funny. But as I said, it really opened my eyes to see that I used to think that, oh, in this small bubble, only certain people maybe looked attractive and things like that. But having been in a new space, a new environment with people from different places, with people with different interests, with people who were kind, people who were
mm,
really lovely to speak to, I realized that the world is just so much wider and so much bigger than what I thought it was. And that going back to my school, going back to that tight knit environment, I could then be like, you know what, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks or cares about me. They are not the ones that are going to make decisions about my life. So I think I started to feel more confident in myself in that way. But I think I didn't fully have like that. I completely love who I am until I was, well, probably in the last few years of university, should I
mm,
say. Um, when I realized that a lot of people were beautiful, they looked lovely, but I realized that I also wanted to be somebody with substance. It wasn't just about beauty for me anymore. I wanted to be able to have rich conversations with people. I wanted to be able to relate with different types of people. I wanted to be kind. I wanted to create impact. And as I said, that creates an impact and we limit ourselves sometimes. And I feel that once I started being vulnerable to people and being a bit more open, I recognized that actually that made a positive difference in their lives as well. You see people come and ask me questions, and I'm like, me? Why are you asking me? And that was also part of the way that I looked as well, because I wasn't somebody that was really into makeup and, yeah, I wasn't really into those things as well. I most days I don't wear makeup. I literally came home and just dusted it because I know I'll be on camera. I went to work with nothing on my face. Um, So I didn't really like fully accept until I understood that we all have a purpose, and my purpose is what is important. The impact that I'm here to create is more important than the way that I look. It's more important even than my weaknesses or my past
Mm,
experiences. And life is all about now, it's all about the present moment. What can I do now? If I want to feel more comfortable in my skin, is it because maybe I like wearing certain colors? Is it maybe because I want to spray some perfume? Is it because maybe I see that somebody else has a really nice style that I want, but I'm not doing that? I'm not actually doing that in my life. I'm not buying those clothes that I want to wear and that I like. I'm being a bit too slack. Is that what it is? And then I started to have my own taste and pick on the things that I actually like as a person. And I think I became more comfortable because I realized, as I said, it's not actually necessarily about what I look like, but it's about sometimes how you feel with what you're surrounding yourself with what you're clothing yourself in, with receiving yourself. So I would say in uni, towards the end as well, I just started to realize that really and truly, the purpose God has for my life is beyond just the way that I look. And if I really want to feel comfortable, then perhaps I can make some choices that reflect better who I am, maybe in the way that I dress, in the way that I talk, in the way that I speak to others. Um, so yeah, I honestly believe that everything is connected. The way we look is, and the way we think about how we look, I believe is a result of other things in our lives. Is a result of our thinking. Is a result of our perception.
mhm.
It's a result of our self belief. It's a result of all these other things. So I think having connected with myself and reflected as a person, because I think a lot. I need to stop
Yeah.
overthinking sometimes, but I think a lot. But I definitely think that that helped me to unfold and understand who I am. And once I realized it's not just about what I look like, it was like, okay, that clicked. But then I understood also, and this is why I'm kind of sympathetic with people, that the world sometimes is fickle and people do judge you on your
Mm,
appearances, whether you like it or
mhm.
not. Let's say the first 5 seconds, somebody
Yes.
can think that they know who you are based on how you look. So it's just kind of balancing that, I think, understanding that you're comfortable in your skin, but that also you're presentable, you're, put together when it comes to certain situations where it's important. It doesn't mean, you know, loving your own skin doesn't mean you just treat yourself anyhow. I actually think when you love who you are, you're comfortable in who you are and who God has made you to be, and you appreciate that handiwork,
Yes.
you also want to make it, you want to bring out the best in it as well. Um, so yeah, that was a lengthy answer, but I hope that did touch on your question.
Yes, yes, that was awesome. That was really awesome. And so, would you say that growing up within your family
Mm.
that you felt beautiful, that within your family structure there was this idea that your beauty was affirmed for you, or was it really not something that was that big of a deal within your family?
I wouldn't say it was affirmed actually, in my family. I wouldn't say it was affirmed. And quite the contrary, I think my sister has a slightly different experience as well because she's darker to myself. So a lot of these conversations we're having, I would be the lighter one. Um,
Mm,
Strange enough in the family. So no, I wouldn't really say it was beautiful. We didn't really use vocabulary and language like that. Yeah, we didn't really use vocabulary and things like that. I think it's more something that came about through self discovery and having the right kind of friendships around you as well. As I said, like being exposed to diversity. My closest friends towards the end of uni as well, they were from different parts of the world, and they actually were the ones that were verbal in terms of reaffirming that, oh, you're so beautiful, you
mhm.
look good, oh, I love what you're wearing today. They were the kind of people that then affirmed that, but they were not people who just affirmed in the way that I looked. They would encourage in terms of self-esteem, in terms of value, in terms of goals as well. So it wasn't singular in that sense. So that kind of vocabulary and language that they use, I would say it came from friendships rather than family. It didn't mean that it wasn't important or that I wasn't valued or wasn't seen as
Right.
beautiful. It just wasn't. something that, let's say, my parents would focus on. They cared
Right.
more, I'd say, about you, like, get your life on track,
Right.
do something with your life, and not making yourself too available, should I say, too accessible to just like any guy as
Hmm.
well. My mom would kind of, in that sense, Nigerian mom, oh, put yourself together well. Da, 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 da. So yeah, we didn't
Okay.
really, I would say, use other language like that. Like, okay, you look fine, you can go out now. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Right. So would you say in Scotland, your experience in Scotland, would you say that you see instances of colorism inside of the Black community
Mm,
and also outside of now? I have no idea of what Scotland is like as far as Black community, white community. Is there are the communities pretty much intertwined, or is there a Black community
mm,
within Scotland? And if so, do you see colorism in that? And then if it's not, do you notice in Scotland that there is preference with skin tone based on how Scotland sees people? The Scot some Scottish people. I don't want to say all because
yeah,
everybody's different, but you know what I'm trying to say.
yeah. I'm just gonna take a moment just to marinate the question. So I wouldn't say, oh, there's a black community as such, or growing up in Scotland, Aberdeen specifically, I wouldn't say there was a black community as such then. What we did have are religious communities, but they were, either Nigerian majority or maybe like a Ghanaian majority, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the one thing that would bring people together a lot is usually the church on the Sunday and on the weekend. It's not like we
Okay.
have so many events targeted, I would say, at let's say the black community or even just Nigerians. So colorism mm, within our community, I would say it's pretty much the same as what we had
Okay.
in Nigeria. On a lighter tone, though, it wasn't as obvious. It's like people were more likely to hide um, their what they really think, because a lot of people were, as I said, they were still actually bleaching and things um,
Mhm.
that I was aware of in even the church community. I don't know if they knew, but I was aware. But
Mm.
you wouldn't really tell people. You would be like, yeah, this is how I normally, this is my natural look. But I wouldn't
Right.
also say that it was to a large extent. It wasn't a majority thing there, I should say. In Scotland, I wouldn't say that within the black community it's as big of a deal, big of a problem. I think it's
Mhm.
more when we enter the wider community, as you say. So maybe you are at a job or you want to work somewhere. I remember there's a particular store, I won't name names, that only hired beautiful people. Like that was the thing growing up, and no black person, got hired
Oh,
during the
wow.
interviews that I knew. It was usually people from, either like a white background or had other ethnicities mixed with white. So that was like the norm at that time. I believe times are slowly changing as people are more open to people from different cultures. As I said, I feel like diversity in itself is a big helps with issues like this.
Right.
Being aware that people are so different and coming from different backgrounds, and we are all supposed to look different, helps with these things. And yeah, so I would say like colorism, it's more prominent when you are, let's say, you want to date somebody, you want to go out with someone, then perhaps that's when those conversations tend to be more highlighted.
Okay.
A lot of, let's say, there are a lot of black girls that I know who maybe are, for example, not simple, single, and they don't necessarily want to be single, but the men that they want to pursue don't necessarily see them as attractive. So I'd say in the terms of the relationship space, yes, it's still a very
Mm.
big conversation, and perhaps as well, as I said, in the workplace, like how white you look sometimes makes you more digestible, but that sometimes can be avoided if you are somebody who's also grown up within their community and society. as a black
Mhm.
person and you understand some of the kind of unspoken norms. That definitely saves you a lot of headache. But
Right.
when people do see that you're different, and or maybe you've come from a different place, sometimes there's a big struggle, especially in the healthcare industry, should I say. So my mom, she works in
Mm.
the healthcare industry, and by virtue of just being different, you go through some other struggles. I'm trying not to bridge into like racism, but I do think you seem more digestible if you have slight more, whiteness to you. Um,
Okay.
Definitely, I would say in that sense, if you look a bit more like certain people, probably depending on the place, depending on the person, but I would say that seem a little bit more digestible to them, palatable, should I say?
Got you.
Um, but at the end of the day, they'll still see you as a different person as well. Even if you have a tinge of black in you, you're still different. You may be more accepted, but I think you're still different. Um,
Hmm.
so, yeah,
Right.
say.
Great. Okay, we'll be right back.
Live life carefree, looking out for better days. Just call it a raise, I'm hoping to rise. Love on my black sisters, let's collab, not collide. While our people provide, light skin, dark skin, but we all on the same side. Come together on the same time, dark and lovely. Yeah, I love mine, beautiful we are, huh? Queens we are, I must admit, and we will go far. Don't ever forget, yeah, I must admit, black queens we are.
Dark and lovely I am, the color of beautiful, beautiful, wonderfully made, the color of beautiful, beautiful. God made me beautiful. I am so beautiful. When you look at me, what do you see? The color of beautiful.
Everyday Black Heroes, written by Felicia Oyewusi. This book highlights Black girls and women doing great things daily in areas such as tech and the arts. Get your copy today at Amazon.com.
We're back here talking with Felicia, and we're having just an absolutely amazing conversation with this phenomenal young woman. I don't know if she wants to tell you how old she is. I asked her because I told her you have so much great insight and so much to say, and we are just so grateful to have had you today on the show. So, I want to ask you. Oh, before we go into this last question, I did want to comment that one of the things that I was watching on colorism, and this was a woman who was actually black living in France. And she was saying that in France, it's more like the fact that you're not French than
Mm,
it is anything else.
yeah,
He said the fact that you're not French is really all that really matters here. It's not so much a color thing, it's that you're not French.
yeah.
So I thought that was really very interesting. So I want to talk to you now about how our language around color and skin tone can be changed to reflect more positive values. How do you think that needs to take place about our language around color and skin tone?
Mm. I think when we speak of beauty, to be careful that we're not saying, "Oh, you look fair," or "Oh, you look bright," or like beautiful. People try to alternate it in different ways, but it's still
Yeah.
quite obvious sometimes. And I know also we use the term black a lot, a lot. For me, it's not my preferable language, to be honest. I would rather brown skinned girls. But even when I wrote my book, Everyday Black Heroes, I used black because it was more commonplace
Hmm.
and you would be able to easily understand, what I meant. And it was kind of, yeah, it was the more commonly used word, should I say. But I love us kind of talking about the richness as well of color. If you are referring to somebody's skin tone, like beautiful, prime, dark, deep, these colors, not just like, oh yes, you're black and that's it, end of story. Because we know, as we've discussed today, that black is a spectrum in terms of colorism. It's not just one thing. Um, but
Mhm.
also, I think not fixating beauty on color as well all the time. To just to use language when we're talking about beauty, as in, the way that you speak is so beautiful, the way that you articulate yourself, or even just your mannerisms, the way that you are very respectful, or the way in which you did that thing, like that's really amazing. Not just really keep it on color. I think we already have enough, as you said, focus on the external enough. In this day, we have enough of that. You just log online and already everybody's talking about how you look. So I just think for us to even make any progress when it comes to colorism is to define beauty in a way that's not just limited to your physical attributes. When you're praising a young child or a young girl, "Oh, you look very beautiful today. You look like you like that dress that you're wearing. It looks really lovely on you." Because we think that we're alternating and changing language sometimes, but it's still
Yeah.
very clear to the person receiving it, especially when you're younger. The kind of way maybe you're being praised and somebody else is being praised for the way that they look. So yeah, I would just say you really, like, if somebody wants to talk about color when it comes to praising their beauty, be very honest and direct, and let them know it's not because you're lighter or darker. I just really love you know how your tone and your skin, like, wow, you just look flawless. um,
Mhm.
but then also making sure to praise the qualities of the person. And actually, that goes beyond small talk as well. And that connects better with people anyway, as human beings. But definitely, I think in terms of improving language, we also have to be quite genuine with ourselves while we're about to compliment someone, while we're about to say something to someone about themselves and the way that they look. We also have to take a moment to understand what it is that we want to praise about them. Is it because we think that they fit a standard of beauty? Or is it because we truly find something about them that's unique, that's beautiful? Is it that their eyes, just sparkle in a different way,
Right.
or just the hues? Like, it's what is it that you really want to talk about? Are you saying that they're beautiful just because of their skin? And you can be beautiful because of your skin. As we said, I love that deep dark brown, rich color as well that my best friend has. But I wouldn't say that I'm saying it because I don't think that somebody lighter is not beautiful. I'd just be like, oh, I love the way that it looks, especially with the colors that you're wearing today. It's just popping, as you said with Lupita. She wears some things and you're just like, wow, that really highlights, your beauty, what you're wearing today, or like how you're, just the way that you're talking or carrying yourself and things like that. So, yeah, I think in terms of understanding what it is that we actually want to say, and compliment about a person, and also, um, I think if we were talking to more than one person, that's when the language is probably even more important. Um,
Yeah.
Rather than just like a singular thing. And it's easier to understand if you're just talking to one person. But let's say you see a group of siblings and it's, aunties always talk about the same child. "Oh, this your Nena is very beautiful." Oh,
Mhm.
always the same child. Like, being very conscious as well about maybe others that do look different, and acknowledging them as well. Rather than just the language, but even just acknowledging the beauty in a certain
Right.
setting on a group. I don't know how to say it. Like, yeah, I think sometimes it's not so much exactly the words, but sometimes it's how it's said, in which manner, and in which environment it's said. I think that's what people remember the most, because usually when people speak of colorism, we talk about, or they think about moments of comparison with someone
Mhm.
else or something else, or with a standard. So I think it's quite relative usually when we're using the vocabulary, that when you're talking to, maybe, let's say, a group of young girls or something, you don't just pick out whoever is just lighter. You're speaking really truly about the qualities and why it drew you to them. You're not just saying, "Oh, you look beautiful. Why do they look beautiful?" Why do you look good?
Right.
Why are you telling me today? What really drew your
Uh-huh.
attention about it today, from every other day? Being more genuine in the way that we speak and what we are saying. And I think people recognize the
Right.
difference well. That might not fully answer your question because I know you said vocabulary, but I I do believe that a lot of it really actually has to do with sometimes how people say things rather than what they say, and you know, as I said, not just being kind of surface level with it, being very specific
Right.
about whatever you're saying, whatever how you're praising someone's beauty, being quite specific at times about why you're praising that quality, so that even if somebody's around, they understand that oh, there's a reason, and this is a specific reason, and it's not to undermine anyone else. But oh, just today I noticed this. I didn't notice it before, and it's really a good quality. It makes you stand out from other people. Just being a bit
Right.
specific in why you're praising somebody and complimenting them. So yeah. But what
Yeah,
would
I think that, yeah, I definitely think that was great what you said. And I think that one of the things, and in particularly when you were talking about when it's more than one person,
Mhm.
and that you're acknowledging you're not favoring any particular child, especially when it comes to our children,
Yeah.
because that sends a message to our children that you're not favoring any one child over another.
Yeah.
Um, and on either side of it. I've talked to light skinned women who have been in situations where their darker skinned cousins were favored
Mm,
and they were treated differently because of that.
mm,
Sometimes I know within the Black community in America that because we're still dealing with some of the residuals of slavery.
mm,
So many things still are happening within our communities that are about division. And slavery, a lot of the things that were instituted in slavery were about division, about dividing a people against themselves. And so many times, even in our families, and I have told people, you have to really be specifically careful within the family and with children
yeah.
because
Mm,
children carry that. When you say certain things to a child, whether it be a light skinned child, I had one woman who said her grandmother used to call her names because she was light skinned, and the whole idea that because she was light skinned she was going to have it better
mhm.
or easier, so the grandmother wanted to favor those darker skinned cousins who were bound to have a harder time. But
Yeah.
we have to be very mindful of how we talk to our children, and that we stop allowing certain language and certain conversations within the name calling and things that
Yeah.
are supposedly done in jest, but that carries with it, that stays with the child. And some of the name calling and things that
Yeah.
happens within families. And I tell people, even respectfully, we have to tell grandma, we don't talk like that anymore.
Yeah. No, that's a great point actually that you just said, and it just made me remember something now to even further, I guess, hit the nail on the head better on your question. Um, yeah, the nicknames. When you grow up, usually often you get called a nickname. I was called Miss
Hmm.
Bukaye, but that was because when I was young, I was very skinny. And I think, as you said, we think that we're doing it or people are saying it in, with good intentions. But I just think, as you said, we need to be more mindful, even if it's a
Yeah.
joke, because children, you remember those moments, you remember those things.
Hmm.
That can be the one thing that maybe plays on their mind for a long time.
Right.
Um, so actually, yeah, we have, for example, comparison actually, language such as comparing child's skin to maybe certain things. So for example, like we've got this soap that's called like black soap, and that some people use in Nigeria. It's made of like shea butter and some other things, and it's used in other parts of Africa as well. It's supposed to be quite beneficial in different ways. But like if somebody's making a joke or something, an uncle's making a joke and referring to you and the color of your skin to like, oh, looking like it's so dark like coal or something like that. It
Hmm.
does, as you say, it can feel like insulting, and because there's nothing really you would say is related to beauty when it comes to those comparisons. So perhaps in terms of language, using references to things that are not really ideally attributed to
Right.
beauty, jokes and things like that can
Right.
can be quite demeaning, I think, for people in general, not just young people.
That's right.
Yeah, to avoid offense.
Yes, we do have to be very mindful of our language and what we say, even in jest, because they say many things said as a joke were meant intentionally.
Oh,
So
like a
we have
paper
to be very
somewhere.
careful
Yeah.
about what we say as a joke. So tell us now, where can we get your book, and where can people find you on social media so that we can follow you and connect with you and support you?
Thank you. Um, so first of all, thank you once again for this opportunity to just even have this discussion and conversation. And we know there's so much more to it. In terms of my book, Everyday Black Heroes, you can get it on Amazon all around the world, Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, you name it. And also, we have a website called www.everydayblackheroes.com, where you can find all the information about what motivated the birth of the book, and learn a bit more as well about me if you want to reach out for any reason, and also just to stay updated on things that I hopefully am hoping to have in the future on the website as well. You can also follow us on Instagram, Everyday Black Heroes. It's all the same across the board, honestly. All lowercase, all joined together. And you can see some pictures of maybe people that were in the book,
Mhm.
and any kind of messages of support. And yeah, I mean, recently I went to Nigeria and I took a picture of one of the people I wrote about,
Oh,
Mama Nike, inside the
awesome.
book as well. So, just sharing more, personal thoughts as well about meeting these people in person and things like that as well. So do give us a follow, and that's how you
Awesome.
can find us.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We truly enjoyed having this conversation with you and having you here on Colorism Conversations. And we will be sure to be following you and finding out what's going on, and hope to even have you back on another show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so great being here, being a part of this, the color beautiful. I love the vision, the mission. I love the whole idea behind it. And I'm just really excited to see what you continue to do in this space, when it comes to, empowering others. I'm really excited to keep my eyes peeled as well. Thank
Okay,
you so
great.
much, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having